What's up everybody, Captain Foggy here from Mind Sculpting MTG. Today we're doing a sneak peek video of a deck I'm going to do here soon. It's called Izzet Aggro. Alright, as you can see we're starting off with a Storm Chaser Mage. We're going to swing in for one. The deck we're playing against is Blue-Red Control. Alright, now we're going to pass it back. We got 1 damage down. He's at 19, we're at 20. This is game 2. I've already played game 1. I didn't get a chance to record that. I started recording probably, I'd say, right after game 2 started. So that's why this is just a sneak peek video. As you can see, we got a copy of Dispel, which we brought in from the sideboard. We've got a copy of Incendiary Flow, 2 copies of Shock, and then rounding it out, we've got 1 copy of Bloodwater Entity in our hand. Bloodwater Entity has become one of my favorite cards for this deck already. In the preview season, my buddy Josh Goblay, he sent me a message and he said, you know what, you got to check out this card. It's going to go great in your Grixis Burn deck. Didn't make the cut in that deck, but it did inspire me to revisit the old red-blue Izzet Aggro deck, and this is what I come up with so far. Alright, so we got our turn again. Talking through most of this gameplay, of course, I've already recorded it, so this is just an after effect. Speaking of, if you're enjoying the music that you're hearing right this second, that is done by yours truly. Been doing music for many years as it is. I swing in with the Storm Chaser Mage. I've got the Shock on the stack. He hits me with an Abrade. I dispel his Abrade. Very good because I get all those Prowess triggers. He has no response to my Dispel, so that's good for us. We're going to keep our Storm Chaser Mage just a little bit longer. And we're going to hit him with another Shock. Get another Prowess trigger. Big shout out to everybody who's supported me so far. Alright, so we got a Glorybringer coming down. Yeesh. So my opponent's at 7 life. I'm at 20 life. But I can go ahead and tell you right now, this is where things start turning badly for us. So of course he's going to swing in with the Glorybringer. Has haste. It's also got the Exert ability. Whenever he exerts, it deals 4 damage to target creature opponent controls. Of course we lose our Storm Chaser Mage. We're going to play the Bloodwater Entity. Put the Dispel on top of our deck. As you can see, I got a copy of Riddle Form in the graveyard as well. That's a card that came out of Hour of Devastation that I was really excited about in the previous season. Definitely goes great with the Izzet Prowess theme. In fact, actually game 1, Riddle Form won us the game, honestly. Alright, so he's going to Harness Lightning. Getting rid of our Bloodwater Entity. As you can see, the opponent's starting to take control of this game now. He's got 4 cards. I now have 2 because I'm going to sling a Fiery Temper to the face. So my game plan with what's going on currently with the board state is I'm thinking, you know what, maybe I can just burn him out perhaps. I mean, 3 damage with the Fiery Temper. Then I've got an Incendiary Flow in my hand, so of course I'm going to cast that next turn. Try to get him down to 1, and then hopefully I can maybe get another Bloodwater Entity so I can get a Shock back, or maybe even draw into another Shock, or maybe even another Incendiary Flow, or another Fiery Temper. This is very much a burn deck as well. All the burn that I'm running in the deck actually hits the face too. It's not just creature removal, so we got a Cathartic Reunion that we just drew. So when playing this matchup, I was actually thinking, should I Cathartic Reunion now, or should I just go ahead and go for the Incendiary Flow? So I decided to actually use the Incendiary Flow and try to burn our opponent out a little bit quicker. He does Glimmer of Genius, and like a fool I decide to dispel his Glimmer of Genius because I'm not a big fan of letting people draw cards. So now I don't have any more cards in my hand other than the Cathartic Reunion, and he negates my Dispel as well. So he's still going to draw his cards, and now I don't have anything to discard to the Cathartic Reunion, so it was definitely a misplay on my part. Of course, I didn't know what he had in his hand, but at the time I was thinking, okay, I can burn him out, which, as you can see, I come really close to it. I have 12 life, he has 1 life, it's now his turn. But this is where the game definitely changes. He has nothing to kill with the Glory Bringer, so he's just going to keep swinging in with that. I draw an Incendiary Flow, which should be game over, but he's holding a Torrential Gearhulk, which allows him to cast a counterspell. I believe he takes back a negate from the graveyard. Torrential Gearhulk's one of my favorite creatures in the format right this second. And who doesn't like casting a big fatty and then getting some value off of it by getting to recast an instant an instant from your graveyard? It doesn't even care about converted mana costs either. That's the greatest thing about it. Torrential Gearhulk is perfect in any blue-based control deck, that's for sure. It has been proven time and time again. I'm still waiting to see a blue-black control deck to come out and just murder everybody, but it's not gonna happen. Red is just too good right this second to play with blue, so that's why you're gonna predominantly see red-blue control decks. Now, in the sideboard, I didn't change anything because everything you see is what I really wanted anyways. I knew I was going up against a control matchup after the first game. I sided in some Dispels, some Negates. The Supreme Wills are actually main deck. Those allow me to not only do some card selection, but also counter my opponent's spells as well, so that way I can keep everything going the way I want it to. So let's see, we've got Negate, Enigma Drake, Mountain, Supreme Will, Spirebluff Canal, Bloodwater Entity, and a Stormchaser Mage for our opening hand. We are going to start off by casting, or playing the Spirebluff Canal and passing the turn. Okay, so we're going to play the Mountain, we're going to play the Stormchaser Mage, and we're going to get in for 1. Alright, so we play another Mountain. We're going to Incendiary Flow our opponent, get that Prowess trigger so we can beat in for 2. He abrades the Stormchaser Mage, therefore we no longer have it, of course. We still get that 3 damage to our opponent. Alright, so this is where I start taking the game back for ourselves, of course. No, I'm going to play the Enigma Drake, excuse me. It's a 1/4 currently. This is how we're going to whittle down our opponent's life. Pass the turn. Bloodwater Entity, though, is so good. You will see in due time how good this card really is. So we swing in for 1. We are going to shock our opponent, that way we can get another instant or sorcery in our graveyard so we can bump up the Enigma Drake to a 2 power creature instead of a 1 power creature. Of course, it starts off as a 0/4. It grows as time goes on. He Supreme Wills. I negate his Supreme Will because, again, I'm not a fan of letting control decks draw cards. That's how they win, typically speaking. They play lots of card draw, lots of control, obviously, and of course usually very few win conditions. And the whole point is to draw through your deck, keep your opponent from doing what they want to do, and then beat in with your win condition. So we now have 2 copies of Supreme Will in our hand, 2 copies of Bloodwater Entity. We are swinging in with our Enigma Drake. He's a 3/4 currently. My opponent is going to Glimmer of Genius. Once again, I'm going to Supreme Will, so that way he cannot draw those cards. All about card advantage with a control deck. It's about protecting your threats and making sure your opponent cannot gain the upper hand. course, we both have 3 cards apiece in our hands. He has 9 life, I have 20. I'm going to play this Spire Bluff Canal. We're going to beat in with the Enigma Drake for 4. He Harness Lightnings, targeting my Enigma Drake. Of course, Harness Lightning only allows you to do 3 damage if you don't already have any energy before you cast it, if you decide to use all the energy. So he does it just so that he can actually start banking on some energy later on in the game. However, he never gets to use that energy. Alright, so he's going to attempt to cast Torrential Gearhulk right here, but he decides against it after all, so he passes the turn instead. So that honestly gave me a huge edge, because now I know what he's really wanting to do. So at this point in time, we just go ahead and swing him in the Enigma Drake. I have a Supreme Will in hand. I know that if he decides to cast that Torrential Gearhulk, I can counter it with no problems, because he's not going to have any mana to pay for that Supreme Will. So at the end of my turn, he casts the Torrential Gearhulk. And of course, I cast Supreme Will in response. No sir, you cannot have a Torrential Gearhulk. Not while I'm here, at least. So now my opponent's at 1. Enigma Drake is a 5-4 currently. It's my opponent's turn. And he concedes the game, so apparently he didn't have anything else in his hand to begin with. That's it for our sneak peek on Izzet Aggro. Stay tuned for the deck tech later on in the week. If you enjoyed what you watched today, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, of course, so you don't miss anything at all from Mind Sculpting MTG. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next upkeep.